Good morning, guys. I have some very special guests with me here today. The team from the newly released game on Telos that's coming up, TitanBorn. How are you all doing today?
Doing all right. Thanks for having us.
Super. Thanks
Wonderful. Well,
for
I'm
inviting.
wondering if we could start with a round of introductions here.
Yeah, sure. I'll
Yeah,
let Alejandro start.
yeah, for sure. How are you doing? I'm Alejandro, co-founder and CMO at Revenant and TitanBorn. Um, started this company back in 2021 with my co-founder Franz, who couldn't be here today. But I'm sure we're going to dive into a little more specifics about the company. So I'll hand it over to my teammate Gleb.
Oh, okay, thanks. My name is Gleb. I'm the head of marketing for Revenant and TitanBorn. So I'm happy to be here. I work with this awesome team for almost, yeah, it's literally a year already. So it passed pretty quickly. So, and I'm happy to be here. Let's talk and let's rock.
Yeah, let's dig into it. So, one of the things I always like to kind of ask about before we even get into the game is, could you give a little bit of background in terms of what's your experience been like in Web3 so far?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I can kind of kick things off and then we can lead into Gleb. But I got involved in Web3 starting in about 2020. Of course, back then there was quite a rush. The early rumblings of Ethereum, of Bitcoin, starting to reach the masses probably by second time. So quite a bit of excitement and quite a bit of a learning curve. But as many of us do, I just dove into the research and understanding the markets, what to do, what not to do. Obviously, lots of challenges along the way. But I think definitely reached a point of success when I met my co-founder Franz in 2021, and that's when we started the company that's now known as Revenant. Oops, other side, Revenant, and that houses TitanBorn. So we started working on the company early on. Initially started out as like a DeFi project, but our heart was always set on driving our roots back to gaming, because that's kind of the passion that we've had since we were young, and something that we really wanted to make a splash within the Web3 sector. So our whole ethos was about building a team that was highly focused on gaming, and so we were able to bring games that were exciting rather than unsustainable to the Web3 space, because we noticed that there was quite a bit of lack of those. um, so our early efforts were I guess dedicated to figuring out, okay, what team members do we need so we can make sure that we are kind of a gaming powerhouse, rather than one focus on purely smoke and mirrors and simply marketing, like many of the projects are today, unfortunately. So that's led to us having a pretty strong development team, and a head of marketing and Gleb that is well versed with the gaming space, both in Web 2 and Web 3. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a background of where we're at today, and my background in crypto as well.
Love it.
Thanks. I'd start with a very important thing. Like, I'm a gamer. I'm a gamer first, and everything else is second. And of course, I always dreamed of like playing and earning. I'm already an old guy. So my first PC, I had it in 1991. Yes, I'm that old. Yeah, but at that moment there were no such options as play and earn. So yeah, I started a lot of maths, then finished financial education, but ended up doing marketing because I thought this is going to be more creative thing. But I was disappointed at some moment because you always end up in those Excel sheets.
That's a truth.
Doing all the number stuff. Yeah. But in 2014, I actually got as close as possible at that moment to the gaming industry. I was invited to be the first marketing director of a famous esports team, Natus Vincere or Navi. Those who play Dota or Counter Strike should really know these guys. Yes, afterwards, I worked with the different esports projects. I developed board games, worked with betting in esports, etc. And in 2018, I guess, yeah, that was my first Web3 project. It was an educational platform. Then I had some experience with the Web3 game potential that should have been released on Iota blockchain, but that didn't happen at that time. Still, that was like a first glance. Then I had a pause with Web3, and I came back to this industry in early 2029 with the rise of actually play to earn thing, the rise of Exit, games like Alien Worlds, etc. And me being as a fan of trading card games like Magic, I played Magic like back in 2000 something. Yeah, then I started to play Hearthstone in 2014, and I still play it till this day. Yeah, 10 years already. Yeah, something. Yes, and since 2029, I've worked with several projects, Web3 gaming, mostly trading card games. And now we're working on an awesome, as I call it, this epic fighting game on blockchain, the TitanBorn, and it's really amazing. So yeah, that's how it goes. So it's more than 3 years in Web3 gaming already. So so
Time
far,
flies. Time flies.
time
Holy
flies.
smokes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like you both have a real deep pedigree when it comes to gaming, which is so important. Like to your point, Alejandro, there's so many browser-based Web3 games that are just a facade, and it really takes the kind of people with a deep knowledge of how to get it done, and also just people that love playing games that really makes that magic happen. So, before one more question before we dig in, I'm curious to know, what was your guys' favorite video game growing up?
Well, for me, I actually had a few. I think, well, I was a big Pokemon guy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I've ever said that publicly within our community. But when we talk about, I guess, more serious consoles, that might be a bit of a questionable statement. But I was a big fan of Shogun, Total War, and the whole Total War franchise. I love strategy games. Age of Empires was really great. So in Age of Empires 3, I really dove into that. Probably because I'm a big fan of like medieval history and stuff like that. And then obviously, there's quite a bit of overlap with like the Blizzard environment, right? So for me, Warcraft 2 was incredible. I think Gleb also shares that passion for the orcs and the elves. And then, I'm also a big basketball guy. So NBA 2K was a big thing for me, and probably the game I got most obsessed with, because I think when I was in high school, I got to like number 400 in the world or something like that online. So
Whoa, let's go.
It was a long March break without many bathroom breaks. So
I love it.
That's what that was about.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, basically one of my favorite titles was already named here. That was Warcraft 2. Basically, I tried it back in 1996, I believe, and that was like it's blowing my mind, because this is like a cartoon. At the time the graphics wasn't as good as now, but still. So Warcraft 2, then Fallout 2. That was the game that literally shaped my vision of the world. That was like in 1998, 99, I guess. So that kind of rich story and complexity and of everything, like I replayed it like dozens of times. So yeah, I guess that's and Gothic, of course, action RPGs. I love that thing. So basically, these were the main games I grew up with together, and of course there were a lot of others. But still, you play Warcraft. Still, you play Fallout.
For sure,
So this is something that stays with you, yeah. And now we watch Fallout series. So
yeah. It's crazy how it all kind of like the culture is really catering to those narratives and games that were so pivotal to our our early years. So let's dig into TitanBorn. Maybe first, can you give us an overview of what TitanBorn is, what type of game it is, what people can come to expect from it?
Sure. I guess, first kind of dive in a bit into like the history of how we started things, and then Gleb can take over since he's more involved on the day-to-day gaming front. But we started Revenant several years ago, and TitanBorn as we know it now didn't exist. In fact, our initial idea was to create a game that kind of took after Tekken, and that involved Greek gods fighting and Greek mythology. And the idea initially was very good, and we built a pretty strong community around it, especially during kind of like the tail end of the final bull run, or the last bull run, should I say. So that was very exciting, but we also understood that to make a more sustainable and more engaging game, we had to kind of adjust that model, because when we did a lot of research, we understood that fighting games themselves don't rank very highly in terms of playability and popularity, compared to some of the other genres. So that's when a lot of our game developers put their heads together, and my co-founder Franz, of course, to understand, okay, how can we make a game that's way more exciting to a general population, because that's kind of like the market that we have to go after within the Web3 space, especially because the Web3 gaming space is so early on right now that you have to make something that is generally acceptable, without selling out, so to speak. But Gleb, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. So basically, what is TitanBorn? It's a fighting game. For now, as Alejandro mentioned, we started with a more Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat style, like a 2D thing. But then we discovered that, okay, this is a very niche thing. And also there is an issue basically with these games, because we wanted to build something competitive and skill-based, not pay to win, etc., as we usually see in Web3. And one of the main issues was basically the ping, because in these Mortal Kombat style games, you have very little time to react. So everything's very, very fast paced. So gradually, we actually came to a conclusion that we need to change the core gameplay, and we shifted more to a Dark Souls style. So now what you see in TitanBorn, so it has arena-based gameplay, full 3D. So with the character and the camera behind your back that follows you. And on the other hand, we have RPG elements, which I'm personally a big fan of course, as you might have understood from my Fallout background. So basically, we have items. You can gear the gear for the character, like different weapons, different types of armor, items, etc., and they all affect stats of the player. So basically, that's the thing. Of course, you may think, okay, if I can get the best gear, then why do I need a skill? I will just like grind because I have all the legendary stuff, and I will suck up the liquidity basically from the game. But for this, we have different solutions and approaches basically. For example, introduction of leagues. So you compete with the look-alike opponents, and we also plan to do a thing that will help us actually to bring the best gear to the best players. That's a teaser for now. That's something for a bit for the future releases, but we have a special approach, and we will I guess we will talk about this later. But we will make this connection so that the best players, even if they can't afford the best gear at the moment, they will have the opportunity. So everybody will, at the end of the day, everybody will be pretty much at the same level. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
Basically,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
I wouldn't mind to drill into that a little bit more in terms of one of the things I kind of consistently see across builders of Web3 games is there's like a real fine balance to strike when you're developing an economy, when you're trying to think about player retention. What is that like? I know you guys have toiled over many years on this game. What's that process been like of adjusting? And like obviously it's Web2 titles have a very different kind of overarching strategy to think about. What's it been like to be kind of immersed in that Web3 world, and what are the lessons you've taken away from how to build out the game so that it fits for that user base?
Well, I can take this. So basically, at the roots of this situation, I'd say the main issue that almost every Web3 game experience, it's the liquidity issue. What I mean, like people usually play this way that they maximize their returns, which is natural in Web3, but this leads to a situation when a player with the, like I mentioned before, a player with the highest amount of money actually will dominate the scene, and that's the riddle we are actually trying to solve with TitanBorn, making it skill based. And at the other hand, like I, as a guy from esports side, I'm pushing the special vision, because the game looks so good that it's not just interesting to play, it is also meant to be interesting to watch, which opens us a window to the esports world, which actually in Web3 at this very day is not really represented. Why? Because of the way the economies work, right? So you just give away the token, and if you are not able to maintain the value of the token, the price of the token, at some moment the economy is collapsing, and like we experience the dead games literally, because once that really falls down, there are not so many chances and to bring this back, because by that moment the resources are already over. Basically for TitanBorn, we understand that it's not enough simply to rely on the, let's say, revenues that occur simply within the ecosystem, like players invest and players take out, invest and take out. This is not sustainable. One of the approaches that we're trying to use is basically find an external way of external revenue source, and esports model is basically like works good for this case, because like how this works in esports, people play and people watch, and this brings us what views is something you can sell. So basically when I say we are arena based, which means what do we do in, like, what do we see basically, not just in esports but in traditional sports the same. What do we see? The arena can be branded. You can have sponsors. You can have sponsors for the banners, so we can brand the arena. We can like release special armor, weapon sets that represent different projects. It can be actually like we actually can't stay within endemic brands. I mean the brands from the Web3 space, but this is how we can have an external revenue source. There's like, to make this happen, we need to understand. To make it's not that it sounds maybe easy, but it's not that easy in terms of the system. It still requires, I'd say, as much of effort as the game itself. But having this done, we can actually see a really working mechanism when you have external source of income that then can be redistributed between all the stakeholders, meaning the company itself, the game, and the players. And this opens us a road to sustainability. So basically, on the long run, this is something we're definitely gonna try and see if this works, because at the end of the day, like you asked, what have we learned during our journey? We've learned that being in Web3, there are no known recipes for success. So it's for all, sure. And that's what I love about like crypto. For me, is love and hate. Hate, like a lot of people, they look like amateurs, and you never know if they know what they are doing. But on the other hand, that's amazing, because this gives you a lot of freedom of creativity and ability to try different ideas. And Web3 audience is used to it, because everybody's experimenting, and this is really welcome. Like in Web 2, you don't have this freedom. If you're making a game, you need to look around. You need to understand that you're gonna compete with big publishers that will, like, even if you make a cool game in as an indie studio and it's like pretty successful and starts to bring you millions, what happens? A big publisher says, "Oh, okay, this makes money. Okay, they make a clone,
Yeah.
and what they do, they simply flush the market with the advertising. They can invest tens of billions in advertising, and they literally kill your game. They just and that's it. But in Web 3, even if you're a small team, like we're a team of 12 at the moment, of course, hopefully we will grow, and not hopefully, for sure, especially with the now with you guys. I mean, Telos. So
One thing,
basically, yeah.
one thing I'll say, just because Gleb, I think, made a great point about the opportunity in Web3 compared to Web2. And I think probably a good analogy I would use is like traditional social media can be seen as Web2, whereas Web3 can be seen as TikTok, where any creator, regardless, can benefit from the algorithm where anyone can go viral, and overnight, boom, you become something. And honestly, I feel like I've seen the same thing within Web3, right? Because just going back a little bit to our history, Franz and I started just having conversations, calls on Discord, and boom, overnight, we raised $1.2 million a couple of years ago in order to roll into this project. So that we ourselves have been kind of like a testament to that idea that we're kind of facing a new wave of professionalism that is mainly based on, I think, expertise, but not in the traditional sense, in that like you just have a huge passion for something, you put in the required hours and you do your research, but not through, I guess, traditional means, in the sense that you don't have to go and get a university degree to, I guess, be successful here. Rather,
Totally.
you watch YouTube videos, you meet the right people, you get in the right Discord communities, and that is the kind of new age knowledge that you apply towards this Web3 space. And then eventually, when you get high enough and you start to meet some of the bigger foundations, then is when like some of those Web2 skills come into play, right? That's
For
what
sure.
we've seen, especially when we've gone to a bunch of like big crypto conferences over the past few years, where it's like, okay, when you're big enough and you have eyes on you, that's when you got to now start talk to the people that might not know as much about Web3 as you do.
Yeah.
But they're kind of presenting that front, right?
No, it's an environment that like you just have to be so nimble, I guess is the best way to put it. And to your guys' point, it definitely feels, I always use the like analogy of pioneering. So it's like, those people who were building, log cabins out in the woods in the snow, like they weren't asking if they were doing it right. They just kind of had to adapt to the situation they were in. And it very much, like to your point too about learning skills, not needing a degree, like you can learn these all on the ground and make it like a disproportionately large impact in terms of what you're doing, because one, it's so early in terms of the overall ecosystem, but two, I think what ends up happening, at least I've seen in like the bigger studios in Web 2, is there's just like so much bloat, so much bureaucracy, that those people with innovative ideas, or the kind of outliers or the small teams, they can break out, but it's so much harder to do so. Whereas here, ideas can catch and just skyrocket up to the top. And to your point, Alejandro, knowing how to leverage that kind of like Web 2 professionalism by the time you get there is like the other part of that recipe. So it's so interesting to hear so many different perspectives, but kind of coming back to that idea that being close to the ground is so pivotal here. And I think the other thing too that I really like, and I'd be interested to know what you guys have to say about it, is that the kind of corridor of communication between the founders and the community seems a lot tighter in Web3 than, say, something like, look at someone like Howard from Bethesda, right? There's no way that you're going to be able to let him know how you feel about the game, or even have kind of a means to have your voice heard or change any of the governance structures inside of that. Whereas in Web3, you can be in the Discord with founders, talking directly to them. They can hear you. If you have a vested stake in the game, there is that potential to have your voice heard and integrated. Like, do you find that's the case as you guys are building out games and see kind of your colleagues doing the same?
Yeah, I definitely say so. Especially because I know firsthand, when we would sometimes conduct different AMAs, we'd have incredible conversations with some of the people that were participating in them. And sometimes it would be like a group brainstorm, right? So it actually felt like you were part of like an extended team working towards a collective goal, right? Because when you talk about community, you're not just talking necessarily about, I think sometimes traditionally people like to think about a community as just as fans, when in fact they can actually be seen as part of like the extended family that can actually contribute to make the vision real, and at the same time get rewarded along the way, whether they are gamers, investors, and sometimes they even become team members, right? Like in the past, I remember at one AMA, we thought one participant made an excellent suggestion, and guess what? Within a few days, we had offered him a contract, and he worked with us for several years,
Love
right?
it.
And that's just one of like the great examples that you have of like community members actually stepping up and filling roles. And as much as TitanBorn, we do that, but we've also seen great examples around the space of different projects, be they games or otherwise, that have really, I guess, applied that narrative. And it's really nice to see like the community coming together for that stuff. And I think that sort of, I guess, disassembling of the corporate structure is something that I guess is so uplifting about being a Web3 gamer and creator.
Yeah, however long that's going to stick around for, right? But I think we've just got such a rare opportunity right now, and I think that games, especially, compared to tokens or even NFTs, like they have that ability to have, fans become, like you said, that extended kind of arm or family of whatever it is you're building, rather than just kind of asses in the seat telling you what they think or how you should run your token kind of thing. So yeah, it's such a special time. I'm curious then, maybe the flip side of this, what do you guys think is holding Web3 gaming back currently? Like, or do you think there are any specific things? I'd love to know what your take on that is.
I can take this.
Go ahead. I'll speak after.
Okay. Basically, like, I'm here for more than 3 years. I'm in Web3 gaming. I don't just work with games, of course, I play them. And even till this year, like, it looks like it's been a long journey, and we've learned a lot, and we should have improved a lot of stuff that we're doing comparing to the games that were like released back in 2020, 2029. But I still see the same issue. Usually, the onboarding is hell. Like, come on. Even for big titles, for relatively big titles, for example, like, I'm a fan of trading card games, so I definitely looked into parallel TCG, let's say. Jesus, I managed to launch the game. Okay, I did it. But when it came to the point, like, to get the items and boosters, I was like, oh my gosh. And I Google, like, okay, on Google, search on YouTube, okay, how to play, what about all this ecosystem, and I see that I need to watch a 2-hour video.
Oh boy.
Like, come on, like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is this? Like, of course, whilst the game is lucrative and everybody's talking about it, of course, people will come and they will spend hours to understand how all this works. But gents, sorry, that's not how this should be done. Like, what's the issue with making a 10-minute introductory video at the beginning of the game, at the intro screen, like, just make a button how to understand all this. Because it can be explained in several minutes. It always can. Like, you can touch the main points and then let people go. But there is still no normal onboarding. Like, you need to dig You always need to dig. You need to go there. You need to go there. That YouTuber covers this part. That YouTuber covers that part. But well, but meanwhile, everybody's talking about, okay, our game will onboard the next 100
Yeah,
million
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
Web2 users. Come on, dears, this is not gonna happen. No, no, no. There's no way you will onboard them because like you don't put enough effort into it. And for me, this is like surprisingly strange. I don't really get like why is this happening. Like if you can't make a video, make a text, put like 3 pages, but let consolidate this, put this in the one place. I don't want to go hang
For
around
sure. Yeah, yeah,
googling,
yeah.
searching, asking people in the chat, okay, how I launch this. Yeah, so basically I'd say that's the main issue, the complexity. Because of course, afterwards, after you watch all these videos and read all this text, okay, then it seems to you that oh, this is so easy. Yeah, of course it works together, but don't scare people away. Let them if they want to bring you money, let them do it. Don't push them back because this is
For sure.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me I think that's basically the main issue.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, how much of that is like kind of the Web 2 builder brain where, we're just so used to how much resistance there is or how difficult some things are to, either access information or whatever. And to me, like, it seems like as simple as resolving that with like a lot of the classic games you play, you get the tutorial, it like teaches you the controls and stuff, right? Like, why are games not placing that, Web3 component inside of that tutorial or process or however it is to really reduce that friction to get folks in? Because to your point, like some of these games, I've just like, thrown my hands up and been like, you know what, this looked really cool, but it's impossible, or I just like don't have the bandwidth to like try and figure out how it is that I get your NFTs, get your token, whatever it may be. It's just too difficult. And I think, if that turns a Web3 player off, like you can bet that a Web2 player is just like, yeah, right. And I think it really feeds into that pervasiveness that Web3 still doesn't have the greatest reputation outside of our ecosystem. So I think that the games, like the ones you guys are building that really try to front end the player experience first, is really what's going to help rehabilitate that reputation and start to entice and really like lead players in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it starts with ease of use and changing that reputation. Although changing that reputation within Web 2 cannot be accomplished by any one game, right?
Sure.
I think it requires a much bigger collective effort because, even whenever I go onto Reddit and sometimes I check the gaming subreddit, if there's ever a Web3 game that kind of announces their stuff there, the comments are extremely negative. As soon as they start to see either, play and earn or NFT or anything, two users are like, vomit
like
emoji.
4-letter words. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not really big fans of that. However, I will say the other things that probably connected with regards to I guess the challenges or barriers would be, I guess, available resources and available market, because I think even gamers within Web3 are probably a much smaller percentage compared to just regular Web2 gamers. But the good thing is that due to I guess unpredictable or high potential nature of Web3 is that if you have a strong idea, the right team and community, and then you also have a little bit to a lot of luck, then you have like a chance of capturing a much bigger percentage of the gaming community in crypto than in Web2. That's my perspective on that.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, sorry.
No, go for it.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that's a very good point that Alejandro touched. That the amount of users of players is relatively small, because the recent statistics, I was surprised to see that the number of active wallets daily active wallets, increased 3 times in the last 7 or 8 months, which is a lot. But if we talk in percentage, of course, but if we talk numbers, this is what? This was 1 million and now it's 3 millions. So, like, Hearthstone itself has 100 million of players. Yeah. So, but we people in Web3 and Web3 gaming in particular, like, we think that everybody already is here, just waiting for the next game. But but that's not true. And like, we talk about, okay, we're gonna revolutionize the Web3, the gaming industry, bringing Web3 to every match 3 ball game. Yeah, but we need to understand that actually, like, this is not really gonna happen, because let's say there are a lot of players, let's say women 40 plus, that play these, like, for example, match 3 games, right? Do they need games on blockchain? Like, do they really care about ownership? Well, not really. If you say, okay, you can make some buck in this game, maybe they will be interested, but they don't play for that. They play just for leisure, for fun, to kill time. And like, it's hard to believe that they will make those extra steps to add a wallet, get some coins, or invest something, reinvest, etc. Like, my wife plays Royal Match, and she even, bless you, Alejandro, and she sometimes she pays those upgrades and the stuff. Yeah. I can't imagine her actually adding a wallet, but no, I can imagine, because now, with, like, being with me, she sees these games, and I introduced her to some casual Web3 games that are, for example, in Telegram already. So, like, she likes that, but this is interesting thing, how behavior changes. For example, if she plays, like, Royal Match, she plays for fun, and she is ready to pay like $1 or $2 every, like, several days, like, to improve her experience. But after I introduced her to play to earn games, like the simple ones that we can find on Telegram, motivation suddenly changes. So she's like, okay, I can make something here. I'm gonna suck up everything that's possible. Like, okay, and this game becomes not for this gaming becomes, like, not for fun, but just simply for lucrativity. Of course, it's good to have a good gameplay, but we shouldn't fool ourselves. We need to understand then, and this is actually one more issue that holds back, I believe, the Web3 gaming to some extent, of course. But that's huge thing is motivation of Web3 players, right? We can't, like, a lot of games say we put gameplay first, and that looks like a very right and natural thing, but there is a collision with the motivation of Web3 gamers, because from the very beginning they know, okay, can make something in here. So, and they are ready to pay, but they are ready to pay only to that extent when they understand they're gonna have a decent return on investment. And this is basically, for example, like, I've been following Parallel for a while, but what really, like, okay, successful project, trading card game, of course, I should watch, but I never tried to play it. Even though I'm trading card game lover. What really motivated me to try, basically, was a simple post by I remember the guy, but by one of the NFT gaming Twitter opinion leaders, and there was like a simple post, three lines. You can start with $35. I play I started and I play 5 games a day. I make 200 per week. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna launch this on my second screen and just do my stuff. And it's a trading card game, so you don't need to rush. So you have a couple of minutes to take a turn, etc. And that's what really motivated me. Though, come on, I am trading card game lover. I should have tried, but okay, I more I'd better try like a non-Web 3 game, like Web 2 trading card game, a new one, than the Web 3 one if I don't see the enough lucrativity in there. So basically,
No,
so this is
there's a tension, right? The push and pull of what needs to take the forefront. But it's such a great point that even in myself, like I've definitely gravitated to those ones where it's like, yeah, that's an easy, or maybe not easy, but like there is a monetary value to my participation on top of the gameplay. And I think that it's just something you can't like kind of wave away as being what Web3 players are interested in as well. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe the next question I've got, and the big one for us is, there's all the chains out there in the world that you could have chosen. I'd love to know what were some of the reasons that you chose to develop TitanBorn on Telos.
So I'm a big relationships guy when it comes to business, probably because I've spent several years working in the nonprofit space, and I understand that, in order to, I guess, advance the goals you have between organizations, you have to make sure that you're aligned on a relationship level. So, after our team had done like the initial, I guess, research into Telos and understanding all the technicals and everything, for me, it was really big to see, several of your team members on the calls and the proactive approach they were taking. And it wasn't necessarily an approach we had or support that we had seen before. So that was really what sold it for me. And it was really a turning point because, as long as you have those, I guess, strong relationships in the beginning, then it's just an entry point into anything technical that you require. And I know Gleb has been, way more involved on that side of things and making sure that things are running appropriately with marketing. And, my partner Franz has been really working hard with the gaming side of things. And, we've been on constant calls with the Telos team. So, the relationship was what sold it for me. But I'd love to hear what Gleb has to say.
Well, basically, as a communications guy, I'd say pretty much the same, like from the soft point. But that was a very important thing because, like, we started on as a Revenant, we started on Metis, but at some point, like, we realized that this is this is a good network, but it's a little bit of a kind of a trap because it's very DeFi focused, and the audience there is not even the Web3 gaming audience. That's the thing. So we started to look into options, and we talked to a number of blockchains, basically, and Telos turned out to be the most like friendly, communicative, supportive, and I must add, product oriented. Because like most of the other blockchain chains networks, they were like, okay, how many people are you gonna bring us? That's all what they care about. But with you guys, it was like completely different. Like you asked, like, give us the game. Okay, we send the link, explain how it works. Okay. Oh, the game looks good. Let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's completely. And we were like, oh gosh, is this really happening? Because we had so much, negative experience before. And of course, like at the end of the day, this was a no-brain solution, because if we talk about technical side of, like, you're EVM compatible, you're fast, like you're suitable. Like for me, this is like more than enough. And then everything else kicks in, like how we build the relationship, how we maintain this, how do we support each other, and so basically that's how we ended up here talking with you.
I love it. I love it. No, I think that's I think some of the feedback that I've heard from other games as well is when they've either been approached by other chains or worked with them, you know, they cut them the grant and basically don't talk to them ever again, or or like you said, are just kind of trying to harvest their player base, or just straight up looking for interactions. But I think the really unseen things that come from having this like close relationship is when there's, you know, say if I've been working with guilds and trying to get APIs connected or whatever, it's only like the response times I can get are under 24 hours or even 12 sometimes when I'm working with these games. And I know from like a game side that just helps further along, you know, people getting into their game, making sure that these things plug in and tie in really well with whatever kind of campaigns or events that we're working on. So it's definitely like, I think that it's easy to throw bags of money around, but it's a lot harder, to your guys' point, to build that relationship across time where you know, all of those pieces that need to get to the road for it to be advantageous, like that comes from both sides, right? And I think that's what I've really enjoyed working with games on Telos, is just that really deep personal connection. So I'm really looking forward to working with you guys, because I've seen some of the footage here and I can't wait to drop in and play. But I'm so grateful you guys have chosen us to develop this on, and I think there's a really bright future ahead here.
We're happy that you've chosen us too.
Let's go.
I agree. Let's get it.
Let's go. Well, I know we're getting to the top of the hour here, but I really wanted to say thank you so much for coming out and chatting, guys. This was really great, and really looking forward to talking more now that I've gotten to know a little bit about your backgrounds, and just the beginning here. Let's go.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us,
Yeah.
and I'll wait to see what Telos and TitanBorn accomplish together.
Wonderful. And just in closing, where can people go to find your socials?
Website TitanBorn.gg.
Wonderful. We'll put links in the description below here, so make sure you check them out. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.